Cam phones, Babylons can't crack the code.
One of the most talked about teams in all of college football right now, off to a 5-0 start, ranked inside the top 10 of the AP poll, having an elite offense and a defense that does its job on the other side of the ball, a team that has playoff aspirations, a team that has a lot of potential to win its conference, and they may have a quarterback that has a legitimate shot at potentially winning the Heisman and looks to be a for sure Heisman finalist as of right now. That team is Washington. However, today's video, it's not about Washington. Instead, it's about the player that may be the most important player on their entire team, in Michael Penix Jr. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about his football journey. Himself all the way from high school through his injury issues and his good play at Indiana to being a kind of under-the-radar prospect going to Washington to now being one of the best players in all of college football. Before I move on, remember to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Now let's get into it. To start this video off, I'm going to be talking about Michael Penix Jr. in his high school career back in Tampa Bay, Florida at Tampa Bay Tech High School. Here at Tampa Bay Tech, Michael Penix Jr. was a 2-year starter on the varsity level, where in his career he threw for 4,243 yards, threw 61 touchdown passes through the air compared to only 6 career interceptions. Also on the ground, he did some work as he rushed for a total of 649 rushing yards and had 2 total touchdowns on the ground. In his senior campaign in 2017, he threw for 2,165 yards, 30 touchdowns compared to 5 interceptions, while accounting for nearly 500 yards on the ground and 2 rushing touchdowns. As a high school prospect in the class of 2018, he wasn't the highest rated player. According to the 24/7 Sports composite rankings, he was a 3-star. The number 21 pro-style quarterback, the number 86 player in the state of Florida, and the number 548 player nationally. In regards to his high school recruitment, according to 24/7 Sports, he held a total of 11 offers from schools such as Oregon, Arizona, Tennessee, and Florida State, just to name a few. And originally, he was a Tennessee commit during the most part of his high school career as a starter. However, when Butch Jones got fired, Michael Penix Jr. would end up decommitting, and it seemed like Florida State was attempting to make a push, the in-state school. However, Michael Penix would end up going to Indiana. In his true freshman campaign in 2018, he was in a 3-way QB battle before the season at Indiana, and he would not win the job. He would end up being in second and being the backup quarterback. He would play quite sparingly throughout the entire season as he was the backup after all, but after the first 8 games, they wanted to try something new versus Penn State. As Indiana as a team, they were not having the most success, and they weren't having the most success on the offensive side of the ball as well, and the coaching staff wanted to see what Penix had in him, and they wanted to see what he could bring out to the team. However, this would not go as planned, as very early on during the Penn State game, during a rushing attempt, Penix Jr. would end up being hit illegally, and he would tear a ligament in his knee. He would end up missing the entire season and ended up getting a medical red shirt. He played 3 games where he had 1 touchdown pass for 219 yards while completing 62% of his passes. Going into 2019, he was in yet again another QB battle, but this time Michael Penix Jr. won the QB battle and was the starting quarterback heading into the 2019 college football season. Now overall, his 2019 campaign, it was pretty good. And in fact, Indiana, they were winning games. When he was the starting quarterback in the games he played in, they ended up with a 5-1 record overall. Now the problem is for Indiana as a team is that Michael Penix Jr., he would miss some time. He got injured versus Maryland and would miss the next week versus Nebraska, but they beat Nebraska. He came back versus Northwestern, and they beat Northwestern. The only problem is, during that Northwestern game, Michael Penix Jr., for the 2nd season in a row, had a season-ending injury. In Indiana, without Michael Penix Jr., they struggled. They lost 3 of the 4 final games they played in. Finishing the year, he ended up completing nearly 69% of his passes, going for 1,394 yards, 10 touchdowns to the air compared to 4 interceptions, along with 119 total rushing yards, averaging 5 yards an attempt and 2 rushing touchdowns in the 6 games he played in. In 2020, Michael Penix Jr. was finally back and healthy, and him and the Indiana team wanted to make some noise during the year, and they did just that while they were a fully healthy team. In fact, in the 6 games that Michael Penix played in, they won 5 of them. They had a 5-1 record with him, and they finished the year at 6-2, and were even a top 25 team to finish the year off. Michael Penix Jr. in the 6 games he played in completed 56% of his passes, threw for 1,645 yards, 14 touchdowns compared to 4 interceptions, along with 2 rushing touchdowns. This is a pretty good season, especially in only 2 games played, as he made a lot of improvements in his game and looked like a good quarterback, leading a team that was quite underrated in the Big Ten and making some noise on the national level. The only problem is, Michael Penix would end up suffering yet again another torn ACL in that game versus Maryland, ending his season for a 3rd year in a row. Going into 2021, Indiana football and Michael Penix Jr. had some very high expectations upon them. People thought Penix Jr. was a Heisman dark horse. People thought Indiana had a real shot at making a run at a Big Ten title or trying to get to the game at least. They were coming off a 6-2 season, and they were ranked inside the top 25 heading into 2021. Only thing is, nothing panned out for either two parties. Indiana in 2021 were one of the worst teams in college football. They went 2-10 and did not win a Big Ten game. Michael Penix Jr., he would end his 4th straight season with an injury, this time separating an AC joint, and he only played 5 games in total for the season, in which they went 2-3 while he was a starting quarterback. But overall, his play on the field was his worst by far up to that point in his college football career, as he completed about 54% of his passes, threw for 939 yards, 4 touchdowns compared to 7 interceptions. He would enter the transfer portal after the 2021 campaign. Penix would announce his transfer to Washington shortly after entering the portal. He went to a Washington team that was coming off a 21 campaign in which he had kind of a weird season, as Jimmy Lake got fired pretty much near the very end of the year. Not exactly fully for the play on the field, as it was only his 2nd year. He didn't make it through the full 2nd stint of the season, but that may be a whole nother video for a whole nother day. They were a team that went 4-8. They had a very good defense, but they had an atrocious offense. And going into 2022, they weren't expected to be the best team, expected to be a bowl team, yeah, maybe, but they're going to have a new head coach doing a transitionary period. And it was a team that you really didn't know what to expect. Heck, you can even say you didn't know what to fully expect from Michael Penix, a quarterback that was coming off his worst year and has gotten injured in every year of his college football career up to that point. However, that Washington team in 2022 and Michael Penix Jr. would shock a lot of people. As Washington, they finished 11-2, and they finished number 12 in the nation. And Michael Penix Jr., he finished with his best year in his college football career yet, as in that 2022 campaign, he won the starting job. He completed 65% of his passes, threw for 4,641 yards, 31 touchdowns compared to 8 interceptions, while accounting for a total of 4 touchdowns on the ground, and he finished 8th in Heisman voting. The 2022 season that Michael Penix Jr. had seemed like a rebirth to his career. A year that he was finally fully healthy for a full season, and he was one of the best players in all of college football. Definitely a top 10 quarterback at that. You may even argue top 5 in the game during that season. And heading into 2023, Washington had some high expectations. They came in as one of the higher ranked teams in college football, a top 25 team, a team that people thought could make some noise in the Pac-12 and possibly contend for that Pac-12 title. And Michael Penix Jr. in the Washington Huskies, through 5 games of the 2023 college football season, have not been disappointing at all. They have an elite offense, averaging 46 points a game, 3rd in the nation, and our defense has been doing their job, only allowing 18 points a game, which is ranks 27th in the nation as of right now, and they rank number 7 overall in the AP poll before their big game versus Oregon. And Michael Penix Jr. is playing at a crazy efficient level. He is playing like a top player in college football. He's playing like a man on a mission and someone that's going to end up in New York for the Heisman ceremony. As in 5 games played, he has completed 75% of his passes, has thrown for nearly 2,000 yards, 16 touchdown passes through the air, and only 2 interceptions. There's not many players you can say that are playing better football right now than Michael Penix Jr. You can probably only name one. Well, guys, if you made this far in today's video, drop something down in the comment section below what videos you want to see in the future on this channel. And before you head out, remember to smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, and subscribe if you haven't already. B. Kelly out.